Hi, it's Joey Reynolds, and I have with me George Albano, who's a good friend and also a good teacher, and he's a principal, not even a teacher anymore. It's a principal is a guy who tortures all the other teachers. That's what the job is. And George is sitting somewhere. You're a little bit too close to that young lady. Why are you so close with her? You got to have a mask and not be close. What's going on here?
This is my oldest granddaughter, and I'm so proud of her. And as you know, the whole family, Joey, I'm going to just hold this up. All my children went into education, and between nieces, nephews, brothers, and so on, we have 18 educators in our family. And my granddaughter, I invited her today because I'm so proud. She's the oldest of my grandchildren. And what are you, 16?
17.
Oh, she's 17. I'm sorry. And she's graduating from her high school in Connecticut, which is Richfield High School. And she's a brilliant student, also a competitive swimmer, unbelievable, and just got accepted into Indiana University.
Oh, is that why your hair's all wet?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was swimming today.
She's swimming today. She swims like 7 days a week, okay?
Where? We can't swim here yet because the beach opened yesterday, and I'm in Florida, you know.
Yes,
And we're allowed to go in the water as long as we have a mask and gloves, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of going in the water. Now we got a blanket, you know, on the beach, and 400 people are trying to be on it.
I can see it. But, well, Joe, interesting. Her father, and my daughter is also a teacher, her mother. She taught in Rye for a number of years. And her father is an administrator in the Armonk School District, and he's in charge of all sports.
Where's Armonk? Where is that?
Armonk is in Upper Westchester County, New York.
Okay. You got to tell everybody. You're all over the world here. They think it's just outside of Beijing.
Yeah.
Armand.
It's a very affluent district, and they got a great sports program, and he's director of health, sports, and physical education, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And he's basically shared with me that it's just many challenges with the virus and you know, certain things are allowed and not allowed. And why I asked my granddaughter, because I was so proud of her working so hard. Last year, or a couple of years ago, she made this, which was a videotape on...
You got to hold it up, but you're not near the camera. There you go.
A videotape on our family, and why she made it, I was honored at Ellis Island with the Medal of Honor for all the immigrants that I've helped get citizenship and taught English to. So she decided to do a videotape on it a few years ago, and now she's graduating this year, and I was so excited. She was thinking about the prom, and then she was thinking about going on the stage and graduating, but now everything is up in the air. It has nothing to do with the school district. It has to do with the state regulations. So I want her to explain how it's affected her.
Wait a minute, this is my show, not yours.
Okay.
He's doing my show.
Okay. I mean, I've seen her in swimming competitions.
I know, George. Slow down.
Right.
Juliette.
I'll let you answer. And here's her diploma that she's getting.
Oh, God.
It's okay. You don't have to.
And that's it. And now I'll let you take over and talk to her.
Well, thank you. We appreciate all of the visual aids, but they're not necessary on a podcast because people are only listening. They're going to wonder, where the hell is this thing?
Okay.
But this is both. We're on both. But
how many listeners do you have, Joey?
You and me and her, 3 of us. Is your wife standing by? Your wife there with you?
Oh yeah, she's outside. Okay.
Well, then there's 4 listeners.
All right.
You know, we always got a good crowd. It's never a problem. Now, Juliette, it's Juliette, right? Mm-hmm. Are you Juliette, right? Yes? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did he tell you anything? Did your grandfather tell you anything about Ellis Island? Do you know anything about it?
Yeah, I went to the ceremony with him, which was super exciting. I was in 8th grade, and at the time, like he said, in my history class at school, we were doing this project about like family heritage. It was like to make a video about family history, and I made that project. And then it was shortly after this Ellis Island Medal of Honor thing, and it was really exciting to go, get to dress up and watch the whole ceremony. And I went with him not all of that.
Do you know what Ellis Island's all about? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, my school did a trip there in middle school. Yeah.
And what is it for? What was Ellis Island for?
It's like, Statue of Liberty, like symbol of America.
Immigrants coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, immigrants coming in from other countries and had to be processed through. We used to do that, And there's I suppose you've seen the name Tony, right? It's an Italian name. People think that a guy named Tony is because he's Anthony, but it's really to New York. It's a sign that was on people. It's Tony, to New York. That's what that comes from. But Ellis Island is very romantic because most people had to be processed through there from Europe. But the other people who were brought to this country from slavery, that's a whole other deal. They didn't go through Ellis Island. And the ones who came here from Mexico, they came over across the borders. But this country's been pretty cool about letting everybody in. And pretty hard to let someone out. But now, with the pandemic, we're trying to get everybody to stay separated, yet we want to be together. It's a dichotomy. I mean, you don't know whether you want to be together or be separated. But the fact of the matter is that you got a nice family and you got your grandfather visiting you. And how are you guys acting during this virus? What are you doing?
Well, we've been social distancing with everyone we see, basically, up until recently when small group gatherings were approved. But we've just been laying low at home, really.
Yeah.
Relaxing.
So what do you do besides swimming? Do you cook?
Yeah, and then I've been doing a lot of schoolwork up until now. I was finished a few weeks ago with school, and my friend and I were doing our senior project because our senior internships got canceled. So we got a choice to do a senior project, and we decided to make cards and artwork to donate to a nursing home where my grandmother used to be, on the other side of my family. So we collected like 50 cards, we made some cards, and we brought them to the nursing home last week. So that was like our final finish off to our senior year.
Oh, that's great. And the graduation, was a viral? Did you have virtual graduation? Well, you didn't have graduation.
So basically my school is doing a few different things to celebrate. Yeah. 2 days ago, we had our diploma pickup. So we got to drive through the parking lot. The principal was there and some teachers, and pick up our diploma and take some photos under this like balloon arch. And then next week we have a drive-through graduation where we all park our cars and watch a big screen and see some speeches. We don't get to walk across the stage, but we just have to watch the ceremony from our cars and decorate our cars. And then the day after that is our virtual graduation, and we had to like send in slides for that and write a message and send a photo of us in our cap and gown. So we're doing like 3 different little things in place of a real graduation.
Are you familiar with some of the work your grandfather's done? In his, well, he's done a couple of schools. And your father's, he's principal of one, right? Is he?
Athletic director at Byram Hills.
Yeah? Well,
Yeah, Byram Hills is Armonk. He's a director.
So you got the whole family is involved in education then?
Yes,
Yeah.
Exactly.
And George, your father, what was he doing?
My father was a medical doctor, and my mother was his nurse. And the only one in the family that went his own way was my brother Louis, who became a wrestler.
Oh, yeah. Captain Lou.
Yep.
He also needed to have a little bit of a... Well, aren't you glad he missed all of this? He would have hated all this,
Yes. But he was the voice of Mario on the cartoons. He also managed Cindy Lauper. He played her father. So he did very well financially, but he didn't go into education.
I went to his birthday party. He tried to wrestle me for the check.
It
was a lot of fun. So what are you doing with the family this weekend, George? What's going on with you?
Really not much. I was hoping that my granddaughter would go to her prom, but I think they're not going to have that. And tell them what you did, Juliette, last week.
Last week we had like a sort of prom at home. So my friend and her date and then my date, we all met at my house, and we decorated a little outside, and we just took some photos and played music and had like a mini prom outside.
Couldn't dance.
I mean, we did. It was fun. It was a good time.
Did you touch each other?
We were social distancing.
Yeah. I don't know if I would have liked that. I gave myself a hickey. You know, I mean, there's no such thing as a problem when you don't have a date and you can't dance. What? How do you enjoy yourself? Just the company visit, is that it? Friendly?
Well, you know, Joe, putting 12 years in, I've seen how hard she worked. That breaks my heart, and also not having a formal graduation breaks my heart. But I guess, like of the virus, what are you going to do?
Just wait it out.
But she'll make it work out.
We have to wait it out until we get a vaccine, I guess. That's the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, hopefully.
Now, what's going on with education? What are you feeling about what we're going through in this country? Do you think that has a lot to do with it? Lack of education?
Well, with so many children missing school, including my grandchildren, I think it's going to set them back an awful lot. And I think some decision has to be made by Albany and our leadership to get children back into the groove of things. And I know there's a reason why they're having them stay out, but I look at, and I believe that every child can succeed. And if you remember the school I was at for 40 years, Lincoln School, very diverse economically, nationality-wise. We had 50% African-American, 30% Hispanic from South America, and Asian and so on. And yet, I'm going to just show you this, Joey. The children had the highest scores in New York State and really in the top 10 of the nation. And that's unheard of with children that come from, poor families, immigrants and so on. But I'm very proud of the fact that they all learned very, very well. And through you and your show that you had, the radio show, I brought much of your talent into my school. Katia Graneva, who's a Russian pianist, when I met her on your show, I invited her to come to Lincoln. Her and her friend Byron Duckwell actually gave free lessons to the students. Imagine a Russian pianist and a celloist volunteering to work at the school. I also met Carol Higgins Clark on your show, and I have her book cover here. So the children had the honor of meeting Carol Higgins Clark because of Joey Reynolds. So you also made a difference. And then I look at some of I know you said don't show it up, but I wanted you to see it. Katia Graneva performed at Carnegie Hall. And remember, to come to the school, and then what she did, we had about 400 students a year would go free to Carnegie Hall from all over Westchester, not just my school in Mount Vernon. And I was very proud of that. And I'm also very proud that I made your acquaintance and got to know you. Okay? You've been wonderful. You made a difference. And just so you know, Joey, what the reason for the success was, it was obviously academics, but also the arts. And I had unusual teachers. My one music teacher for the Monkees, I think I had him on your show, Vinnie Riccitelli, and he taught music. I had another teacher, okay, she was a Carnegie Hall performer. Another one, she did plays like Annie, okay, many other great plays, and she was a former Broadway star. So I had a very unusual group of people that worked in the school, and I'm very proud of that. And many of them I met on your show, and I just think of, we did plays like Sound of Music, okay, Carol Higgins Clark, as I told you, I met with you, and you made a difference and I made a difference. And then I instilled it in the children that they have to make a difference by doing something. And my granddaughter just told you that what did you say you did to make a difference? Made cards for senior citizens?
Yeah.
I'm so proud of her for doing that. And my kids made contributions to Make-A-Wish Foundation, and we were featured in their newsletter, okay, which I'll show you again.
You are just Mr. Audiovisual. Do you do that when you teach? You hold up all these things?
Yes, I always let the children see it. Visual communication is great. But the school won the National Blue Ribbon, which is an amazing thing because of the well-rounded education, the arts, academics, and because I love what I do, okay?
Yeah.
And I feel that when there's failure, there's a lack of leadership, and most teachers work very hard and want to succeed. And I think if students want to learn, it's a great formula for success. But I'm so proud of my granddaughter. That's why I wanted her to come here, because I felt she's been through a very difficult year, not knowing when the graduation is and so on. And I know she'll do fine in college, and the college is lucky to have her.
Well, this is college. What you're doing is college. College is an expression of education with freedom. You know, I mean, that's what we hope to do. In high school, you can't do too much. Everybody's got something planned for you all the time. You know,
Yes,
I felt like I was being punished. I went to Our Lady of Rikers Island High School. You know, they put me in a cage.
Catholic school?
I had the nuns.
I went to Catholic school too. We had the nuns.
Oh, they were good though. See, that's when the hospitals were well run, and also the schools were well run because the nuns they worked free. You
Yes.
know? And they worked for God instead of for the paycheck, I think.
You know what they say about nuns? They got nasty habits.
Oh, I knew there was going to be a bad joke here somewhere. She didn't even laugh. Juliette's not even listening to you anymore. You lost the audience already.
No, Juliette always listens to me.
So, Juliette, did you go to any of these concerts at Carnegie Hall? Did you see Castagna?
I did, yeah.
Katya?
I went twice. I think I must have went 3 times. I love going every year. Like, it's kind of the same every year, but it's so beautiful. It just like kind of gets in the Christmas spirit, and there's always like so many kids there that he brings in. I've brought friends with me before, and it's just like, it's amazing. It
is amazing. You're right. George, another thing you forgot to tell her or us and everybody that you hosted the Prince of a Black Kingdom. Do you remember that?
Yes, we had him, and it was funny. It's interesting that you asked that. That was featured in the Urban League magazine. I was the first white educator to ever appear on a cover, and they featured us, and that we had the Prince come in from another country. But I mean, that's what made the school exciting. I always welcome guests. I seized the opportunity to, when I got to meet you, I saw how wonderful you were, and you had an open mind as far as me recruiting your people, and none of them got paid. They all volunteered to come in. So artists, the musicians, writers, publishers. So Joey Reynolds, you've made a big difference in this world, and I mean that. Well, I want to have you on because I want to show what a difference you made, not me. I mean, I wanted to present that, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, I think one of the real issues that we have right now, don't you love the word issues? One of the big problems we have right now is poverty. The other one's education. And those are two things that you were able to overcome in Mount Vernon. And what you did was you took the high road and you involved corporations, you involved business like Apple, I think at one time. And yes, you got them to supply the school with equipment so you didn't have to go through the Board of Education. Boy, is that right. Board of Education is right. Some of us always are. But you went to the great lengths of involving everybody on your own. You didn't look for money from the city. You weren't waiting for anybody to come up with a great plan. You just went ahead and you did what you knew was right. Well, it's funny, Joey, that you said that. The exclusive prep schools, and there's many in Westchester County, and they want to be diverse. And quite often children that come from diverse backgrounds couldn't afford the prep schools. I must have had at least 100 of my students get full tuition scholarships to prep schools that cost $15,000, $20,000 a year. Yeah. And I look at some of my students, one African-American young man, William Mead, he's a medical doctor today. And I can go on, Andam Debagor from Africa, he's running for state senator, okay, and ran in the past. So I'm just very proud that any child can and will learn, no matter what, whether they come from poverty or whether they're a single-parent family, and it's just believing in children and giving them every opportunity. And like I said, what I did is I made the prep school pay me back. I said, you want my students, you want diversity, donate a computer lab. So I had 25 computers donated to the school by wealthy families from prep schools. And that's how I made it work. And I also had Joey Reynolds give me many of his talented people.
Well, but you had Judith Reagan too, who was the #1.
Oh yeah, Judith Reagan came too.
Yeah. I mean, she was a publisher, and with HarperCollins, she had her own imprint because it was owned by Murdoch. Nothing to do with Republicans at that time. We didn't have Fox as a religion, but you know, Judy did a special on you on television. I think
Yes.
I think you were on 60 Minutes too, weren't you?
I was on 60 Minutes. We were on. Steve Hartman did a special on the school.
Yeah.
Achieving success. Judith's was called "Spoiled Rotten Kids," children that have no direction at home. How we made them learn and succeed, and how I held parents accountable. You would not get a report card unless you came to the school, even if it was on a Saturday or Sunday. I would meet with them, and they eventually did it. Maury Alter also did a beautiful special on his school. John Marrow from PBS, Jim Lear NewsHour. So every major network we were on. And I just believe there's no excuse for failure. And when there's failure, there's just a lack of interest in the profession. So
why did we not get why are not all the other schools like yours and like you?
Well, it's so funny. I was reading a magazine, and it was the magazine was called Phi Delta Kappa, and the article was written by John Marrow. And on the front, the title is "Meeting Superman George Albano." I'm certainly not Superman, but what he says is it's amazing. We've had so much success, and yet people haven't capitalized on that. And I even sent a letter to President Bush when he was in office, telling him how I would like to have a setup where we can go in and mentor other schools. What did he do? And I explained the whole thing to him. He made his daughter do it, who knew nothing about education. And she had a show where she was going to do makeovers in schools. It failed within a month. Okay? So everybody's out for their own interest. And I wonder how many people really care about giving every child an opportunity.
How do you feel about what's happening now with the racial call? You already were way ahead of the curve with that. You had inclusion long before we knew the word.
Oh, so, yeah, exactly. And I just hate to see it. It's destroying the country, dividing everyone. And I don't believe there should be these marches. To me, we just have to correct the situation. And then so many politicians promise us change, and they don't follow through. That's it.
Well, that's why you have the marches, because you want to bring it to everybody's attention to show how corrupt it all is.
It is all corrupt. You're right.
Yeah. And the good people seem to not want to be in office, too, it seems, like me. Otherwise I'd be the king of Staten Island. No.
And it's so funny. Years ago, I taught history in high school, and I always wanted to run for office, but I see what's going on now with both parties, and I'm not too impressed with either one.
Why didn't they give you the chairperson of the city of New York? Why did you not get hired to, I don't know what they call it, chancellor? They give him
the chancellor he hired, interesting, the chancellor that they hired came from Texas, and they threw him out of Texas because he failed. But I figure New York hired him. So I don't think they want change.
We got a good one down here in Miami. He almost took the job in New York, and he turned it down at the last minute. He's Hispanic, and he's got a very good handle on it. He's very.
I hear he's very good.
Very much like you, but you also do a lot of things that most people would get fired for. You defied gravity. You were against the board. You were against the city council. You were against, but it worked.
It's funny, Joey. I spoke up after I retired. After 40 years in the school, the superintendent in a neighboring district called me and said, "George, would you come in and straighten out the school?" I spent 5 years there, and I straightened it out. But what they didn't like, it was so political. It was like who you know to get a job there, and I realized that they were falsifying the records on special ed children. It's called an IEP to save money, and I just would not tolerate it. And the teachers were getting extra time off. So most teachers are wonderful and dedicated, but in this district, the leadership just was lax, and I was very disappointed. So you're right. I finally resigned after 5 years there, and I made changes, and I'm writing a book now, which I'm halfway through, and when it's finished, I think it's going to wake up a lot of people.
What is it?
I'll call you, Joey.
Juliette's waving to somebody who's in the house.
Hi, Grandma.
She waved to her grandmother, my wife.
Hi, Grandma.
Lorraine.
Lorraine's great.
Come here a minute.
She's never missed one of.
Real quick, say hello to Joey. Come here.
Oh yeah, I want to also before we finish this thing, I want to make I want to bring something up too that you were way ahead of, and that's school lunches for kids.
Hi.
And breakfast.
Also,
My wife Lorraine.
I know.
The Zoom might max out after 40 minutes. I'm not sure how long we've been on, but
Are we done?
no, I'm just saying after 40 minutes it might end. So just a warning.
No, we have the unlimited series.
Oh, that's
You
good.
mean on Zoom? Well, the reason you have 40 minutes is for people like you. You know, they don't want to. No, because they want to make more money.
Oh, okay.
That's not an insult. It's a business here.
So what were you going to say, Joe?
I was going to say that you got school lunches, but you also had breakfast for kids too, as I recall.
Yep.
And you
Kids got breakfast, lunch, and then at the end of the day,
aftercare.
Aftercare. And no matter what, I would never leave that school until every child was picked up by a parent. And as I said, there were many parents that have tried, from incarcerated in a jail to a drug addiction. And then, like I said, I had doctors' children. It was very, very diverse. And usually you don't see scores where every single child in the building, I should say 95% of them, scored in the top 10 percentile nationwide. And that's why it was so successful. And even the adult ed program I run, and I still run it, to teach immigrants English. If they can speak English, they can help their children. So I had, and that's done by all grants. It's a $250,000 grant from New York State. And I've been running that for almost 40 years also. So I put a lot of formulas together. You're right, having computers donated, having books. My library was very out of date, and I had tons of books donated.
And open classrooms with no walls, no borders.
An unusual school. It was built, a new school, and you're right, it did have open classrooms. So the one wall was missing in every classroom. And when I first got there, it was so noisy that the children weren't learning. And what I did is I put on classical music, Carnegie Hall music, so on. And I said, if you can't hear the music, you're acting out too much. And for 30 years, they had classical music. And so I did do a lot of unusual things, and it worked.
Now, Juliette, why did you not go to school there?
At Lincoln?
Yeah.
I mean, living in Ridgefield, the schools are pretty good here. So.
Oh, I
She
see.
lived in Connecticut.
But on the note of school lunches, could I add something there where you started?
Yeah.
So I remember at the beginning of this whole quarantine, people were talking about how many kids in more underprivileged communities, their only breakfast, their only lunch, that comes from school. Especially in one of the neighboring towns, Danbury, near me. Kids sometimes get their only 2 meals a day from school. So that was an issue. And I remember even in my town, many towns around us would have packaged lunches outside the school, and there would be someone distributing them when the quarantine was really bad and people couldn't work at all. And they would give them to anyone who needed them and just give them out.
Wow. You're
She does a
amazing.
lot of community work as far as good volunteering, and that's why I'm so proud of her. And if you ever saw her in a swim meet, I get all excited when she swims. She's like a jet. And I just want you to see, this is her diploma. Now, I know I showed you, but I wanted you to see it one more time. This took her 12 years to get. And having Joey Reynolds see it is even better than having a graduation on a stage.
Just to drive up to school to get it.
This is the grandfather, the proud grandpee. Or as my grandchildren call me, grumpy. No, I'm not grumpy.
Joey, how many grandchildren do you have?
4 of them under 10, and they're not going to get any older.
God bless you.
I'm going to keep them all down for a long time.
I have 6 altogether.
Yeah, well, it's a joy to have your children's children's children. If you go another degree,
Right.
wow, then we've really made it. I don't know if I'm going to make that.
So
But,
do you agree I have a lot to be proud of with my granddaughter Juliette?
Nah. Of course, we went ever on the air. Of course, she's like you. There's always a kid in the family that's like the old man, and I become the old man. I never thought I was an old man until I stood next to someone a lot younger, and that's how you look young, by hanging around with older people. My friend Ellen Evans. Her mother was 104 years old when she died this last year, and I said she's got a real problem. I was talking at her funeral. I said, because her mother is interested in older men. Not good.
But like I said, it's funny you just said my granddaughter. It means so much to me because if you ever saw the DVD she made for school, and this is when she was only in 8th grade.
Juliette, he's going to hold it up again. Stop him from this.
I'll hold it up. And the medal around me, that's the Ellis Island medal. But I wanted her to come to inspire her. And if you see what she put together, I'm so proud of it. I just put it on my website. So if you want to, georgealbano.com, www.
Well, everything about you is gracious and giving and kind. You're such a gentleman and all. I have a series of shows that these are unusual shows. See, these are not the things that you're going to just plug in. It's not a TED Talk and it's not a TikTok. We're not doing anything goofy, although a little bit of acting out, but not too much. The purpose of it is to celebrate quality people you don't usually see on television, because the people we celebrate these days have committed a crime. One of my big objections is that I can't watch television anymore. Well, that's because I'm not on it. No, really, I think that the problem is that we have too many things that are negative and too much of you can't sleep. If you watch late night television with all the news, I have a hard time because I'll just wrestle with all these thoughts. I want to go to bed.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely right.
I want to do something a little bit different in the media. I'm working on that too, and that's why I wanted to present people like yourself. So far, I've had 17 people like yourself, and there aren't too many, but I'll find them all. It's person to person, visiting a person's home, talking to them, having a chat like we're doing here. And in your case, you brought your granddaughter, which is wonderful. Everybody has something that they want to contribute in these broadcasts. A friend of mine who was in the music business with me years ago in L.A., Chester Pipkin, he became a minister. He's a black guy who has a community that came out of the Watts riots. But I had him on last week. Nothing to do with race. We didn't even talk about race. We talked about the music. And in the case of the music, I've said this on my raps, which is a short form, so you don't have to listen to all my crap. But the Joey Reynolds crap. But the raps are shorter, and I said on the one the other day, we've adopted the black culture in so many ways, with fashion, with our music, and with our some of our great outpouring of emotion. Black people have always been a good, strong community in themselves. They've had to survive, so they kept close with each other, and I think we should do more of that as a whole country. I think we need to really all not separate. I think we need to not segregate, that's for sure. But I think we need to all get together. And George, you've done that with schools. That's what you're doing.
Well, it's funny that you said that, Joey. When I spoke at the Harvard Club in Manhattan, and I also went to the UN right after that, they were talking about my contributions to the black community. Yeah. And I said to them, I don't give them a free meal like many of you politicians do. I feed the children, but what I give them is an education so they can get a job and they don't need a handout. So to me, that's making a difference. Okay, you help them, to survive until they get on their feet. When I see my students come back, they come into my driveway. Mr. Albano, I'm practicing medicine. Mr. Albano, I'm a lawyer, and it makes me so happy. But as you said, I just wonder if they want change in America, and I think the whole educational system has to change. And I think there should be more people like Joey Reynolds. And I agree with you, Joey. I watch TV at night. I actually shut it off. I just can't take it. It repeats and shows that have failed.
Well, one of the things that we've changed is the earlier television, although it was more primitive and a lot less intriguing, perhaps. And there's so many choices now. We have 600 channels. And the internet has really opened it up, and social networking is giving us a voice. So it's all good. Everything's good. But what I'm going to point out here is that on earlier television, we had a respect for each other that came through on the acting. We may have been a little bit corny and maybe a little bit more homespun, I guess Larry David is not going to be in a Little House on the Prairie, Right. You're not going to have that real big voice on a family situation. The family situations they had lessons in them. You know, there was regard, there was respect for each other. And even black community grew up with that, although most of the actors were white, and that was probably not right because of lack of inclusion. But let's go further. Those shows were a little bit more of a good goalpost for us. I mean, even if you go back really far, you're not going to know this one at all. Loretta, I was going to say, one of my friends. You're not going to know this one at all. Lassie. Remember Lassie?
Oh, of course.
You don't know Lassie.
I've seen that movie, yeah.
Have you? Oh, my.
They were wholesome for children to see.
Yeah, and even Mr. Rogers, you know, who got celebrated by Tom Hanks recently. Yeah. You know, I mean, I grew up with well, I'm from Buffalo, so we had Howdy Doody. You know, I grew up with Buffalo Bob. I mean, you know, that and it was a different kind of presentation. I'm not saying that we ought to be as corny or that we have to be very laid back about anything and, you know, black and white television and no production. What I am saying is we have to be a little bit more careful with the language. I think language is outrageous. And you know what? Where did we lose English? We lost common sense in English. How did that get lost, George? You would know that.
Yeah, I'm very disappointed. I paid for, you know, cable TV. I used to have an antenna on my roof, and I want to put the antenna back because there's nothing on that I think is worth watching. Yeah, usually I go to bed at night and I just turn it off. But I agree with you. And if you can come up with a show where you presented some role models to people, I think there's a big need for that.
Well, Juliette, what do you watch on television, or do you watch it at all?
Mostly I just watch Netflix. That's what everyone watches these days, like young people. And stuff.
Well, not only young people. What do I look like? Chopped liver here? What do you watch on Netflix? What series do you watch?
Let's see. One of my favorite shows is Gilmore Girls. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
of course, I'm a big I'm a Netflix. That's me. I'm a Netflix.
I find that show to be like really, really wholesome and like I don't know. It's just a good show to watch. Like it's really like entertaining and everything.
See, so the television has shifted the series over to the pay-per-view. That's what it is. You know, Netflix is a subscription. And radio is XM Sirius, so that's a subscription, you know. So what we've done is shift the money part of it. That's why I made that little comment earlier about going overtime on Zoom. You know, it's all about money these days. Everything's about money. So why don't we teach money in school?
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Well, it's funny, Joey, you say that. I taught that. I taught the children to save, to make contributions. And it was interesting that you said that. The other day, I'm in the bank, and I'm talking to a friend of mine, and he says, George, what's going on in education? Kids can't sign their name. They actually print it. Because when I was at Lincoln, I was told, with computers, you don't need script.
Yeah.
And I disagree. I think script should be taught. It develops motor skills. And imagine you go to the bank, the kids don't know how to sign their name after going through school.
Yeah, at my elementary school, like my grade was one of the last grades to go through that learns cursive. Like I learned it in second grade, and then after that they just like stopped teaching it. Like my younger sister, she's 12, she never learned it. And also, you just said something else before that. I had something else to say. It was about, what'd you say before? Oh, about like banking. This year and like money and things, like this year at school I took a math class where it was like more real life types of math. Like we learned how to buy a car, mortgage a house, like lease a car, like all useful things like that. I think more classes at school should be like that.
When I was in grade school, we always had to put at the top of the page, the only printing allowed was JMJ. It was Catholic school, so it was Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. And that was what we had to put at the top of the page. So now I see when my kids have WTF, but I don't want to ask what that is. I don't think that's very religious.
No.
Now, George, again, do you remember the prince when he came to visit?
Yes.
Do you remember his name?
No, I don't.
We were stumbling over the country he's from earlier. Well, you have the front page of the magazine there, don't you?
Right.
You have it with you? Well,
no.
Look, you don't have it with you?
No, I had a different one. But I remember the prince came to the school and the kids got over it. But remember, not only that, I had, like you said, I had Higgins Clark come to the school, and on and on. I always gave the kids role models. I had one little boy had cancer. Thank God he made it through. And his dream was to meet the first black Mr. America. And I actually forgot what his name was. Okay, I don't know if it was The Rock or whatever it was. But I invited him in, and he spent an hour or two with the kid. And the mother called me crying. She said, "You changed my son's life." So I believe in role models for kids, and I think it means a lot.
I think the parents have to model. I think that's the only way kids are going to change at all. If there's any hope at all, they're going to see how we behave. Because they don't listen to us anyway. They just watch what we do.
You made a difference in the world because you always allowed me to incorporate your talent into my school.
Yeah, well, you see where Juliette's not heard a thing I've said.
I'm listening.
I'm just playing with you. But thank you for being here. I mean, you guys are great. And George, I wish you would run I wish you would run the country in education. I wish you did. I don't know why you stopped. I don't.
It was so funny. One of the writers, I don't know if it was John Marrow, wrote actually in the book, he did a special, and he wrote in the book, he is a man that's succeeding, and yet, no one seems to be talking about it. But that's like you said, it's all negative. Everything's negative. Instead of, I think your idea is great. Identifying talent, whether it be in the automotive industry, teaching, medicine. So, even medicine now it's all online. It's just not what it used to be.
Oh, I know.
I always think of my dad. I remember at the end of the night, we have a duplex house, which I was born in 75 years ago. And my dad, at the end of the night, would give me the key, say, go into my office and collect the money in the drawer. And I remember there would be maybe $150 all in singles. He charged $4 a visit. When he died, I was 11 years old. We had no money in the family. My poor mother was going to lose the house. And that's when I started working since I was a young kid, because he wouldn't charge people. And not only did he not charge you, he wrote NC on your prescription, no charge. I remember our pharmacy bill was like $600 the month he died. So people making a difference. I don't see that in medicine. I don't see that in education.
And lawyers. Lawyers
too. Yes. Yeah, it's all about money.
They don't care about who's right or wrong or good or bad. They care about winning or losing.
Yes.
That's different.
That's why I'm proud of my granddaughter, because she makes a difference, and she's working with seniors, and the children love her. So
and you're going to be swimming with the sharks, because that's where it is. Now, one other thing to mention here about my doctor, Mark Siegel. He's on Fox Television.
Oh yes,
I can't talk to him because he's under contract. I could talk about him. They're not going to do anything, but he can't come and be out with me. But I'm going to tell him to start charging $4 for those visits. I was out with him the other day. In those virtual doctor's visits. Kept me waiting a half hour.
I think he's great.
Oh, he's great, but he kept me waiting. I mean, so I peed in a cup and I read a magazine. Then he showed up. But I think he's a good doctor and he's a good guy. But they now do something that your father did with the virtual. They're making a house call.
Right.
Because
he made a house call. If you couldn't afford it, he didn't care.
That's right. So, Julia, thank you for showing us how to use the computer and all this stuff today.
Yeah, thank you for hosting this.
And for plugging Netflix.
So wonderful. I didn't know how to do the computer. My computer was giving me problems. So when I called her, she was going to the beach today with her friends. So she cut it short to do this show with you.
All right. Now, I know. Would you say she's an honest person behind her back and in front of her?
Very honest.
Okay. Juliette, are you an honest person?
Yes.
Did this whole time here suck?
No, I enjoyed it, actually. I love the discussion.
I don't know if did it go anywhere, or is it just all corny and stupid? Just be honest. Come on.
I liked it.
Okay.
I always love hearing about, everything he's done. It's so interesting to me.
And I wanted her to meet you, Joe, because I think you're special. Really.
Yeah, but she may be looking, saying, Dad or Grandpa, what do you see in this guy? I just want to
hang around with old men.
Yeah, I want to see a little honesty here. That's all. But you're right, huh? This is okay?
I liked it.
Good.
She enjoyed it.
All right, so I'll send you a check. I'll put WTF on it.
Okay.
Whatever that means. Thank you for being here.
God bless you, Joey.
Thank you. And God bless you.
Enjoy Florida.
No. Juliette, You can come and visit us anytime you want. We have a lovely beach here, but you have to separate. Bring your boyfriend, but you can't sleep on the blanket with him. You gotta get another. You gotta bring his own blanket. But thank you for being on with us today. I appreciate that. Okay.
It's a pleasure, and you look wonderful. God bless you.
Oh, you come on. We're a couple of survivors.
No, and you made a difference through your show. Believe me.
Oh, thank you.
I think I told you, Joey. Last thing, about 2 years ago, I'm walking out of a diner with my wife, and a little old lady with a cane. She was blind. She looks at me and she says, "Aren't you George Albano? I listened to you on a Joey Reynolds show. I swear to God."
She was blind and saw you?
No, she heard me talk. She identified my voice. That's what it was. And she said the Joey Reynolds show. I listened to it every night.
So who was that Prince? Salazar? What was his name again? Remember him?
I can't think of it.
Oh, this is going to be. I won't sleep tonight. I got to keep thinking of this. I have to go. I'll
try to look it up and I'll give you a call. And Joey, I'm 75 years old. I'm not as young as you, and I'm getting a little forgetful.
Oh, well, you're a loving man and a good father and a good grandfather and a great teacher. And I wish you ran the education for the country. We need it. See, now we need that. We have an acceptance of older people and the value of older people. If we would stop taking down our statues, I think we'd do history a favor too. You got to leave them up because they represented something that was unpleasant, unkind, terrible, but still relevant.
I heard in England they want to take down Winston Churchill. They're getting carried away.
Well, all right, I'm going to go because Juliette's getting.
Joey.
She's going the other way now.
The dog is here.
Oh, you got a dog? I got Bird. You got the dog? Of course, my Bird tweets. And, oh, that's great. What's that dog's name?
Bella.
Bella. Let me see that pooch.
Bella.
Oh, beautiful. That's great. Oh, see, this is what it's all about. All this other stuff is just crap.
I enjoyed it, Joe. Really, I haven't talked to you in so long, but I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was a pleasure.
Well, I'll see you again soon. I hope as soon as they let me sit. The problem is that I don't want to fly until it's all clear. I'm at that age, you know.
Yeah.
But that's the serious side of me. Anyway, let's go. We want to get out of here and give you guys a good time with your family. And thank you so much for going out of your way and for serving us for so many years.
Let me introduce you to my other granddaughter. She just came in.
Yeah. She's going to say, Jaden. Hi, we're on Zoom. How old are you, honey? You about, wait, let me take a guess. 110 pounds. Oh, no, that's the weight. Wait, let's see, you are 13.
You're close.
How old?
I'm 12.
12.
See?
You're getting good, Joe.
How much do you weigh? 110?
Probably around that.
See? That's why I'm going to be a carnival guy. I'm going to give people dolls.
Well, Joey, that's what I did in Alton School. I guessed age and weight at an amusement park. You didn't know that?
No.
It was called Playland Amusement Park in New York.
In Rye, New York.
Right. And I used to guess age and weight, and that's how I paid myself through college.
How come? Go ahead.
And that's where I met my wife. She came up with a girlfriend, and I said, let me guess your age. And she said, I guessed it. And then she said, you can't get a prize. I said, the only way you'll get a prize if I can guess your phone number. I said, you have to write that. She wrote it down, and I called her that night and asked her for a date.
Oh, she's a sucker.
And I gave her a prize.
I hope you gave her less weight than she has.
Yes.
You know, a little vanity attack.
You always underestimated the women because they would.
Oh, thank God. All right, I'm gonna go now. I'm gonna go take my swimming lesson.
All right, take care.
All right, let a smile be your umbrella, but don't get a mouthful of rain.